Hello, and welcome to the February 2021 Wendell Foster In-Service. My name is Wesley Gaynor, and today we're going to talk about workplace safety, incident reporting, and COVID-19. To start this training, we're going to discuss workplace safety, and in particular, safety awareness and good workplace practices. According to OSHA, those that work in the healthcare and social assistance industry are more prone to injury than any other. In fact, those that provide patient care are at a heightened risk of developing musculoskeletal disorders, also known as MSD. MSD can occur through overexertion from repeated manual lifting associated with patient transfers and repositioning. MSD can be easily prevented by stretching your muscles before, during, and after your shift. It's also good to always ask for help if you think you might need it, use a mechanical lift when necessary, and prevent injury to yourself and the person you're assisting by avoiding unsafe practices, such as assisting somebody with removing their clothing or depend while in a wheelchair. Slipping on wet surfaces is another common safety hazard. A slip can occur in icy or wet conditions, so when walking outdoors during cold weather, be on the lookout for ice. Just because a surface appears wet doesn't mean it's not frozen, and be sure to step carefully and cautiously and avoid the area if you can. When walking indoors during wet and rainy conditions, be sure to dry your feet thoroughly on the rugs that are provided and be on the lookout for puddles that may occur from others that are entering the building. Also, look out for floors that are wet from mopping. While in the houses and cottages, you also want to tread carefully after showers because the floors tend to be very slippery until dried. As always, make sure you clean up any spills and wet floors that can contribute to an unsafe work environment. Trips can occur when we're not paying attention and are in a hurry. All it takes is one misstep for a person to lose their momentum and balance, so please be aware of your surroundings and leave all walkways clear. Make sure rugs are laying flat, clothes and towels are not laying on the floor of the bedrooms, and that tools and equipment are not obstructing a path. If you see a potential trip hazard, please take a moment and fix it. Doing so may prevent you, your co-workers, or the person you're caring for from injury. Falls can be very dangerous in any setting. In fact, it's the #1 reason for fatalities in the workplace. So please be on the lookout for anything that can contribute to a fall and correct it right away. When any type of aerial lift is being used, be sure that you're properly trained before using it. And also remember that OSHA requires that fall protection be provided at elevations of 4 feet or more, except when using a portable ladder.
In this short video, we will show you something most people don't realize about what causes us to trip and fall and how to avoid this dangerous hazard. Slips, trips, and falls constitute the majority of general industry accidents and result in back injuries, strains and sprains, contusions, and fractures. A trip happens when your foot or lower leg hits an object and stops, but your upper body continues moving, resulting in loss of balance. But first, let's understand one very important thing that we all have in common. Can you tell what it is? When a person takes a step, their foot comes off the ground about half an inch before it steps back down again. Therefore, anything that sticks up a half inch or more can cause you to trip, and then your momentum can cause you to fall. If you're lucky, you'll walk away with a few bumps and bruises, but for the not so lucky, falls result in 15% of all accidental deaths and are second only to motor vehicles as a cause of fatalities. What did you trip over the last time you fell? People tend to trip over things that we see all the time but don't normally notice. Things like a slightly curled up edge of a carpet or mat, extension cords, uneven walking surfaces like cracks in sidewalks or other walking surfaces, thresholds in doorways, tools, even those cute little pets snoozing in doorways cause hundreds of falls every day. Can you spot the trip hazards in this photo? Here's one where the surface changes elevation about an inch, and another change in elevation. Would you see this one? And two more changes in elevation, each more than half an inch. Anywhere you see a crack in a walking surface lurks a potential trip hazard. This is a joint in the sidewalk. Hard to see, but the difference here is almost 3/4 of an inch, more than enough to cause a fall. But can you see the other hazard? Here, almost invisible, but the crack should be enough to warn you. The elevation here changes only slightly, but enough to cause a hazard. We can get so used to hazards we forget they're there. This one was painted yellow, but it's been scuffed over so many times it's getting harder to see. A common type of hazard is any area where one type of walking surface ends and another begins, like where carpeting meets tile, or the edge of a parking lot. Sharp, unexpected changes in elevation are particularly dangerous. This one's much bigger than half an inch. A warning could save a terrible injury or even a life, maybe your own. A simple door threshold sticks up enough to trip anyone walking in or out. Hazards hide in plain sight, especially if the lighting is bad or if we are doing something that blocks our vision. Pay attention. If you're walking and texting, reading, daydreaming, or doing anything other than not paying attention to where your feet are going, you might as well be walking blindfolded because your eyes are not working for you, they're distracted. You can avoid injury because tripping and falling is preventable. Keep in mind that it's the little things we don't normally look for that can hurt us the most. As you're walking today, how many trip hazards can you spot? At work, at home, in the parking lot, or wherever you go. Remember, it only takes half an inch to change your day for the worse. Use your eyes and be aware of those little trip hazards as you walk.
If you see a safety risk, fix it or report it. Work orders can be submitted electronically. If it's after hours, on the weekends, in an emergency, the maintenance after hours phone numbers should be utilized. You can call them at 270-903-5378. Now that we've spoken about the general issues of slips, trips, and falls, let's focus in on the things you may see here at Wendell Foster. This includes speed bumps, broken asphalt, recessed manhole covers, curbs, flooring transition, wet floors, poor lighting, and rugs and mats. Make sure your co-workers are aware of these trip hazards and any new employee that comes here to work. Always be on the lookout for anything that could trip you up. And be mindful of keeping all walkways and exits free of obstructions. Do not block access to handrails with furniture or boxes, and make sure all exits have a clear and direct path. Let's not forget that choosing the right shoe for the job is another way to prevent slips, trips, and falls. Be sensible with your choice of footwear, and make sure your shoes are comfortable and fit well. All shoes should be closed-toe unless your specific department dress code allows otherwise. The soles should be non-slip and in good repair. There should be an adequate amount of tread on the bottom of the shoe, and if your feet and legs hurt after a day of work, it might be time to buy a new pair of shoes. While working at Wendell Foster, there may be a time in which you will need to use a ladder. When doing so, please remember these safety tips. Avoid electrical hazards, so make sure you look up to ensure you're not under an electrical line. Inspect a ladder before using to ensure it's in good repair. Maintain 3 points of contact when climbing at all times. This means each hand and foot is 1 point of contact. 3 should be maintained when climbing up and down a ladder. Face the ladder and stay in the middle when climbing. Do not use a step ladder as a single ladder in a partially closed position. And do not use this top step or rung of a ladder as a step unless it was designed for that purpose. Use ladders on stable surfaces, and do not place ladders on objects to obtain additional height. Never move or shift a ladder while somebody or some equipment is on there. Extension ladders that are used to access an elevated surface must extend at least 3 feet above the point of support, and place the ladder base a quarter of the working length from the wall. If a ladder is placed where it can be displaced by other work activities, make sure it's secured or that you barricade access to it. Ensure that the locks on extension ladders are properly engaged, and never exceed the maximum load rating of a ladder, and this includes a person's weight in addition to the weight of the tools. Never step on chairs, boxes, bins, or other objects as a makeshift ladder, and ensure that you inspect each ladder before use. The ladder should be the right style, height, material, and performance rating required to do the job. When on a ladder, do not lean too far one way or the other because you will risk losing your balance, and don't overextend your normal reach. And now we're going to talk about interacting safely and efficiently in your workplace through ergonomics. Ergonomics is the fitting of the job to the employee to prevent injury. Proper ergonomics can prevent MSD by limiting the exertion of excessive force, repetitive motion, awkward postures, static postures, and the use of awkward tools and handles. By using ergonomics, an employee can minimize their risk for injury on the job. It involves both setting the work environment up to ensure the employee has less stress on their body and by thinking responsibly. Just because you can do something by yourself doesn't mean you should. Being responsible at work means you work smart, ask for help when needed, and offer to help your coworkers when it appears they might require it. When working in an office, employees are at risk for chronic back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, eye strain, and joint injuries. This is likely due to poor posture, using a chair instead of a ladder, repetitive motion, trip hazards, and reaching for something while sitting in an unstable chair. When working in an office, the following tips can prevent injuries. Look before you walk to ensure you do not run into other objects or people. Report loose carpeting and other trip hazards. Don't stand on chairs. Use step ladders instead. Lift with your legs. Look away from your computer screen for 30 seconds every 10 minutes. Use a wrist support when using the keyboard and mouse. And stand up and stretch every half hour. Take a moment in the morning to set your workstation up for efficiency and to decrease injury. This includes making sure your chair is set up correctly so that your backrest supports your lower back. Make sure your elbows are kept close to the body and keep your back straight when sitting in your chair. A good position should have minimal bend at the wrist when using your mouse or your keyboard. And keep your monitor roughly an arm's length away. When working as a nurse, CMA, or DSP, you're at risk of back, neck, and shoulder injuries. This happens through the following activities: assisting a person from laying down to a sitting position, helping somebody up from bed, or bending down over somebody for an extended period of time. To prevent these injuries, please remember the following. Take time to stop and think. Do you need assistance? Do you have everything that you need? Are there any slip or trip hazards? Is your equipment in good repair? Are you taking any shortcuts? When repositioning somebody in bed, a turn sheet makes it easier on both you and the person you're assisting. And when helping somebody in bed or in the bathtub, raise the tub to a height that is comfortable for you. When repositioning or assisting a person, place your body as close to theirs as possible to prevent injury. Exercise regularly to develop strength and flexibility. Practice good posture by keeping your head upright and your shoulders back. Use teamwork whenever it's possible. And set the room up before you assist somebody to prevent injury. And always encourage the person that you're assisting to help you. People that work in maintenance are also prone to injuries. This includes broken bones, loss of vision and hearing, soft tissue injuries, muscle strains and sprains, neck and back injuries, and joint injuries. These types of injuries can be prevented by keeping the work area clean. Beware of loose clothing and jewelry around machinery. Watch out for pinch points, and keep your tools and equipment in good repair. Use the right tool for the job and ask yourself these questions. Is it the right weight? Is it designed for a power grip? Also, avoid any awkward position. Do this by keeping your wrist and arm in line with your shoulder. Try to reduce excessive gripping force and avoid or limit vibrations with your tools. Also ensure proper lifting techniques by sizing up your lift and making sure that your path is clear before you lift the object. When you begin your lift, start with your legs and keep that load close to your body. Set the load down in a very controlled fashion. If a work-related injury or unusual circumstance happens, it's important that we report it right away. When an incident occurs, there are two types of incident reports that can be completed. The first is the employee incident report. This is filled out anytime there's an injury, illness, property damage, or issues of this similar type. Whenever an employee incident report is being completed, it should occur at the time of the incident. And this is when any illness or injury impacts an employee's ability to work, when Wendell Foster property is damaged, or when an eye wash station or blood spill kit is used for an employee. The other type of report is called General Incident Report. Now, a General Incident Report should be used anytime law enforcement, EMS, or the fire department responds to Wendell Foster. Also, you are to use this when drugs are discovered on property, property vandalism is discovered, Wendell Foster property has been stolen of $100 or more in value, or when a domestic dispute occurs on Wendell Foster property. Basically, any incident out of the ordinary that involves a visitor or Wendell Foster in general can be documented under a General Incident Report. When completing an incident report, it's important that we look at Policy E-4. It states that any work-related injury, illness, or occupational disease exposure must be reported to the employee supervisor as soon as possible. Under no circumstance should a report of injury be made more than 24 hours after the incident. Supervisors are responsible for completing their portion of the employee incident report, and the completed incident report is to be turned into Human Resources within 24 hours of the report of injury. When on-site employees are injured, a nurse on duty is responsible for ensuring that they and the service recipients are evaluated and receive any necessary medical attention. This nurse will determine if outside medical treatment is necessary, and then they are to complete their portion of the employee incident report. If the employee requires emergency medical treatment during normal hours, the nurse on duty should send the employee to One Health at Work to be treated. During off hours, the employee should be sent to the emergency room of Owensboro Regional Health System. When documenting on an incident report, be very thorough in your documentation and try to include as many specifics as possible. You should be answering the questions of who, what, when, where, and why. Here is an example of an employee incident report. Notice we've placed the date as January 1st, 2020. The location was the Young Building. The person's name is John Doe, their title is DSP, and they work in ICF Cottages CD. Their supervisor name is Jane Doe, and they report the incident to Billy Bob. They have the date of the incident, the time of the incident, the date reported, and the shift that they were working. They even include the time the shift starts and ends. Under an incident type, we have injury or illness, property damage, or other. And for this we marked injury, illness. And now we can circle the best description of the incident. It could be struck by or against, strain or sprain, reach, pull, lift, allergy reaction, slip, trip, fall, ergonomics, splash contact, hurried task, repetitive action, or struck by a wheelchair. And in this case, I marked with an X, slip, trip, and fall. The next section is where we place where the incident occurred. In this statement, I placed the incident occurring in the Young Building hallway on the east side in front of the exit by colleges C and D. Try to be as specific as possible. And again, in the next box, the persons involved, I placed the name John Doe, and the witness was Willie McNeely. Now, if there is a witness to the event, we're going to need to obtain a witness statement as soon as possible. This next box has to do with job activity being conducted at time of incident. On this, I wrote, I was walking into the Young building. Now this is page 2 of the employee incident report, and it picks up where we left off. So we start with my statement. I was walking into the Young building with Willie McNeely. We were both pushing wheelchairs when I stepped onto a wet part of the floor. I slipped and started to fall, but caught myself on the door frame, twisting my back. This caused my back to hurt really bad. The next section says, describe any injuries or damage from the incident. And I wrote a statement stating, my lower back hurts really bad. Now it states here to indicate the area of the body injured below. So I drew a circle and I pointed it with an arrow to indicate where I was injured. Next, we sign our name and we print our name. Please be very legible with this so we know who it was. And then we have a date. Below this is a nursing assessment, and this is where the nurse on duty can go ahead and write out their name, the treatment taken, their assessment, the location of where the employee was sent, and their signature date and time. Now, if the employee declines treatment, notice this highlighted section. They can sign their name and then date it. So whether or not they seek treatment, this form still needs to be completed. If they decline any outside treatment, they need to sign this and date this as listed right here. And here we have page 3 of the employee incident report. Now this is the follow-up page. So for every incident that's happened, we should have a corrective action. This is not a write-up. This is an action that we're going to take to try and prevent this from happening in the future. So all of this should be documented under corrective action. And then we're going to list the employee that's responsible for following through with this, the date that is required, and the date of completion. Any other notes or comments regarding this issue at all is going to be listed right here. Once completed, the form must be forwarded to Human Resources within 24 hours of the incident. And of course, Human Resources will sign off that they received it. Now let's look at the general incident report. It starts with the name being given as Donna Hamilton, and the date is January 26, 2021. And right here, you want to write the department the employee is working along with the time of the incident. You also want to make sure that you put a detailed description of where the incident happened. So here I wrote parking lot off 9th Street. This next box states to circle the description of the incident. And here are our options. Drugs on the property, fire department or ambulance response, law enforcement response, stolen property of $100 or more in value, domestic dispute, vandalism, a visitor incident, or other. Now, right next to other, I typed in car accident. The next box is a description of what happened. You want to be very detailed with this. So I stated that Donna was pulling out of her parking spot when she accidentally hit the side of a Wendell Foster van. This scared her and caused her to hit the gas pedal. She then hit another van and ended up pushing up against Morgan Carroll's car. Once this is completed, you move down to the next section. Was police report filed? And you can mark yes or no. I marked a yes. And if it is, you need to attach a copy of this to the form. And then you go ahead and sign whoever is filling out this report. So I signed my name, Wesley Gaynor. The next section is for supervisors. And it says immediate actions to prevent another incident. Again, this is not a corrective action. This is steps that we can take to prevent this from happening in the future. And so what I wrote down here was the Wendell Foster vans will be parked separately from other vehicles. Person responsible, Morgan Carroll. And the date is January 26, 2021, time 4:45 p.m. This is the date and time that it will be corrected. Below this, you have the supervisor's signature and then the vice president of the department's signature along with the date. If you have any questions on completing or filing incident reports, please contact your supervisor or Human Resources. And now let's move on to COVID-19 updates and precautions. Vaccine Clinic number 3 will be held on Friday, February 26, 2021. Anybody who received dose 2 on February 5th must attend this clinic to receive the final dose and be fully vaccinated. Anybody interested in receiving dose 1 at clinic number 3 should reach out to Human Resources to discuss options. The COVID testing and pay policy has been updated and is available for everybody to review. This policy update will be attached to the in-service email that I send out and will be placed also on the Chromebooks for SCL and ICF staff. The following changes to the COVID testing and pay policy were made. Employees are allowed one bank of COVID pay per rolling 12-month period. If an employee doesn't use all of their COVID pay bank from their first round of COVID pay and they're reinfected within the prior rolling 12-month period, the employee will have a few hours of COVID positive pay they can use for that reinfection. If an employee does use all of their COVID pay bank and are reinfected within the prior 12-month period, they will be required to use PTO if they were exposed outside of work, or workers' compensation if they were exposed at work. Terminating employees will not be paid for unused COVID pay time. For further information on COVID-19 policies or programs, please contact Human Resources. The following tips can help you prevent the spread of COVID-19 at Wendell Foster. Please wear your mask when around other people unless you're eating or drinking. Please maintain social distancing even if your mask is in place. Try to limit the shared use of items such as ink pens, staplers, markers, books, TV remotes, stethoscopes, and keyboards. Have your signs and symptoms checked before each shift. Encourage good hand washing techniques for the people you serve and support. Maintain a proper amount of cleaning supplies in your work area to promote good hygiene. Clean and sanitize your work area on a regular basis while paying special attention to the handrails, doorknobs, and bathroom furnishings. Avoid spending time in high traffic areas. Restrict the number of people allowed in small places, such as laundry rooms and the media room. Avoid community events where there is a large gathering of people. Shop at your local stores when there are fewer people there. Avoid eating out during peak hours. And wash your hands on a regular basis and use hand sanitizer between hand washings. During this pandemic, it's important that we take care of our mental health along with our physical health, so please keep these tips in mind. Exercise to get in shape, stay in shape, and to get rid of anxious energy. Eat a balanced meal with vegetables, grains, and protein. Take time for you. Enjoy a hobby, a book, or just time to pamper yourself. Go for a walk, jog, or a park to enjoy nature. Play with your pets. Learn how to play an instrument and explore new music. Talk with someone. This could be friends, family, or even a counselor. Clean your house. A clean house promotes a sense of well-being. And open your windows and enjoy the sunshine. A little kindness can go a long ways. So things that you could do to help other people is to write a thank you letter to a frontline healthcare worker or somebody at the grocery store that's always been there for you during these difficult times. Invite a friend or a family member who lives alone for a virtual dinner with you. Give them the seat at the head of the table and enjoy some quality time with them. Send a message to a friend or a colleague you haven't connected with in a while. Let them know that you've been thinking of them. Send cute or funny pictures to brighten somebody's day. A little bit of humor can go a long way. Tell someone you care about why you're thankful for them. And offer to cut a family member's hair. They could probably use a good cleanup by now. And now we're going to talk about the new TB skin testing procedures. Any staff member that has not received the COVID-19 vaccine will get their TB skin test as scheduled on February 22, 2021. Due to the recommendation by the CDC regarding the possibility of the COVID vaccine interfering with the TB skin test results, if you've received a COVID-19 vaccination, your TB skin test will be postponed. Per the new guidelines for TB skin testing, any staff that have received a COVID vaccination needs to wait at least 4 weeks after receiving the second dose before a TB skin test can be administered. With this new recommendation, your TB skin test has been moved to the following dates and times. Any staff member who is supposed to receive their TB skin test after March 29, 2021 should have their TB skin test administered on March 29, 2021. You will have this administered in Kim Trainer's office. You should be there between the times of 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Once you receive your TB skin test, you need to have it read on March 31st, 2021. You can show up at Kim Trainer's office between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. Or you could be there at 1 o'clock p.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. If staff are unable to come on the scheduled dates and times, they must get with Kim Trainer prior to the scheduled dates to make other arrangements. Staff who do not get their TB skin test taken or do not have the TB skin test read on their scheduled dates and times will have to not only go out on their own to get it, but also pay for it themselves. Due to the need for staff that receive the COVID-19 vaccination needing to wait 4 weeks before having their TB skin test administered, some staff are going to find that they're outside their normal window of receiving the TB skin test. Due to this, they'll have to go through a two-step TB skin testing process that first begins with a signs and symptoms check. So, for any staff member who is supposed to receive their TB skin test before March 29, 2021, you will need to have your TB signs and symptoms checked on February 23, 2021 in Kim Trainer's office. You can be there between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or 1 o'clock p.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. Now, if you're scheduled off for this day, don't worry. You can call Kim Trainer at 270-852-1455 on that day to complete the signs and symptoms check over the phone. Once staff have had their signs and symptoms checked, they need to have their first TB skin test administered. This will take place on March 29, 2021 in Kim Trainer's office. Staff should show up between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or between 1 o'clock p.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. Once you receive your TB skin test, you're going to need to have it read on March 31st, 2021. This will happen in Kim Trainer's office between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or you can be there between 1 o'clock p.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. Okay, so now that you've had your signs and symptoms checked and you received your first TB skin test and had it read, you're now ready to receive your second TB skin test. And this will happen on April 12th, 2021 in Kim Trainer's office. You can be there between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or between 1 o'clock p.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. And now to the final step. You need to have your second TB skin test read. You can do this on April 14th, 2021 in Kim Trainer's office. You can be there between 8:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. or 1 o'clock p.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. to have this read. So we know this is a lot of information to process, and we want to apologize for that, along with any confusion or inconvenience this new testing procedure may cause you. But there's been so much information to absorb, I'm going to post a document on the Chromebooks for the SCO houses and for the ICF cottages for staff to reference to make sure they have this information at their fingertips. I'll also include a place on the test that has this information too, so you can use it as reference. Please be aware that any staff that is unable to come on the scheduled dates or times to have their TB skin test read or administered, they need to meet with Kim Trainer well in advance to make arrangements for other plans. If they don't do this and they miss their TB skin test administration or reading times, they'll have to go out on their own to have this done, and they'll have to pay for it out of their own pocket. So in order for you not to go out on your own and pay for it out of your own pocket, if you cannot attend the date and times for the TB skin test and the reading, you need to call Kim Trainer in advance and make arrangements. And one final point to make is, in the future, any staff member that receives a COVID-19 vaccine near the date where they're to have their TB skin test administered, they should alert Donna Hamilton just to make sure that proper guidelines are followed. And now we bring you Wendell Foster updates. Now, I am sure that many of you are as excited as I am to see some normalcy return to Wendell Foster. Some of the events that were impacted by COVID-19 are now making their return this year, and that includes the First Responders Barbecue. This First Responders Barbecue is a Wendell Foster way of saluting those that serve and protect our communities every day. These upstanding citizens answer the call of duty daily to support the community and Wendell Foster, and we want to say thank you in return. So, on July 4th, 2021, Wendell Foster will be having a barbecue to meet and greet those that serve us so well. Please post this on your calendar and make plans to attend this event. On September 17th, 2021, Wendell Foster will be having its annual Golf Scramble. This event is composed of 29 teams with over 100 golfers. Not only is this a fun event, but it also raises approximately $17,000. As we get closer to this date, we will have more information available. The Wendell Foster Benefit Auction is a fundraiser that is a talk of the community. At this catered event, not only is there a chance to meet and greet the gracious donors and supporters of Wendell Foster, but there's also many great items to be bid on. In preparation of the benefit auction, Wendell Foster employees will be asked to help set up the event, pursue donated items, help find services that can be auctioned off, and assist with the cleanup afterwards. As the time for this event nears, more information will become available. Please start thinking now of when and how you can volunteer to assist at this event. On Saturday, October 23rd from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Wendell Foster will be participating in the 2021 Special Needs Expo at the Owensboro Convention Center. This event is a way for us to connect with the community and make them aware of the services we can offer to those in need. If you have time that day, we encourage you to lend your support, even if it's just stopping by and saying hi. And last but certainly not least, we're proud to announce the date of the annual Half Marathon. This November 13th event brings participants from across the country and around the globe. Leading up to this date, there will be a request for volunteers to help organize materials and to create packets of information for each runner. Help will also be requested for the day before and day of the event. So whether it's helping participants pick up their packets, manning a booth, or setting up the race, we will need all hands on deck to make this event a success. Please keep this date on your calendar and be ready to help as part of the Wendell Foster team. And that concludes the February 2021 in-service. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for being a difference maker. You are the reason for our excellence.